The more perfect a person is on the outside, the more demons they have on the inside. I am not bisexual. I am not gay. I have never had sex with men. Friendship is an art of keeping distance, while love is an art of intimacy. Most people do not really want freedom because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. The best is always the enemy of the good. Sex is emotion in motion. He energetic and successful band is the one who succeeds in transforming the fantasies of desire into reality. Perfect, eternal hate, purifying love exists only between the addict and the drug. It was a feeling of loyalty to our own sex and an enthusiasm to have every degradation that was put upon our sex removed. Money, it turned out, was exactly like sex. You thought of nothing else if you didn't have it, and thought of other things if you did. We enter the world with loneliness and lonely leave it. We do not randomly choose each other. We meet only those who already exist in our subconscious. The first human who hurled an insult instead of a stone was the founder of civilization. The mind is like an iceberg. It floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. You do not stop looking for strength and confidence outside, but you should look inside yourself. They have always been there. We seek more to take suffering away from ourselves than to gain pleasure. The voice of the intellect is quiet, but it's never tired of repeating, and listeners are found. Nothing costs so much in life as illness, and ignoring an illness. Masturbation is one of the primary abodes. The primary addiction, subsequent addictions, alcohol, tobacco, morphine are only its substitutes. I thank God I was raised Catholic, so sex will always be dirty. Love without sex is still the most efficient form of hell known to man. I think you can make fun of anything except things people can't help. They can't help their race or their sex or their age, so you ridicule their pretension or their ego instead. You can ridicule ideas. Ideas don't have feelings. You can ridicule an idea that someone holds without hurting them. A joke makes it possible to satisfy a lustful or hostile instinct despite an obstacle in its path. We are so made that we can only derive intense enjoyment from a contrast and only very little from a state of things. Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. The big difference between sex for money and sex for free is that sex for money usually costs a lot less. No self-respecting woman should wish or work for the success of a party who ignores her sex. Sex at age 90 is like trying to shoot pool with a rope. The first indication of stupidity is a complete lack of shame. Thought is action in rehearsal. Though the sex to which I belong is considered weak, you will nevertheless find me a rock that bends to no wind. Experience teaches us that the world is not a nursery. Wherever there is a human being, I see God-given rights inherent in that being, whatever may be the sex or complexion. Before you diagnose yourself with depression or low self-esteem, first make sure that you are not in fact just surrounded by assholes. From era to era, one discovers the entire truth. Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. I remember the first time I had sex, I kept the receipt. Words have a magical power. They can bring either the greatest happiness or the deepest despair. There is more to sex appeal than just measurements. I don't need a bedroom to prove my womanliness. I can convey just as much sex appeal, picking apples off a tree or standing in the rain. It's been so long since I've had sex, I've forgotten who ties up whom. Happiness is a child's dream fulfilled in maturity. Avoid women who talk a lot about sex, because often they have gotten a psychological breakdown from the lack of it. The secret of the human soul lies in the psychic dramas of childhood. Get to the bottom of these dramas, and healing will come. Sex pleasure in woman is a kind of magic spell. It demands complete abandon. If words or movements oppose the magic of caresses, the spell is broken. Instead of being presented with stereotypes by age, sex, color, class, or religion, children must have the opportunity to learn that within each range, some people are loathsome and some are delightful. How bold one gets when one is sure of being loved. I am still of opinion that only two topics can be of the least interest to a serious and studious mood: sex and the dead. I've been a woman for a little over 50 years and have gotten over my initial astonishment. As for conducting an orchestra, that's a job where I don't think sex plays much part. Sex is like money, only too much is enough. Valentino was apparently gay or bisexual, and his 2 lesbian wives. But without any question, he had sex with men, from choice, so he was one or the other. Limitation in the possibility of enjoyment raises the value of the enjoyment. I am an artist. Art has no color and no sex. A father's death is the most important event, the more heartbreaking and poignant loss in a man's life. The thing women must do to rise to power is to redefine their femininity. Once, power was considered a masculine attribute. In fact, power has no sex. Sex without love is a meaningless experience, but as far as meaningless experiences go, it's pretty damn good. The only person with whom you have to compare ourselves is that you in the past, and the only person better you should be, this is who you are now. Recognizing a problem is half the success in solving it. There is more to sex appeal than just measurements. I don't need a bedroom to prove my womanliness. I can convey just as much sex appeal, picking apples off a tree or standing in the rain. A husband is almost always only a substitute for the beloved man and not this man himself. No mortal is capable of keeping a secret if his lips are silent. His fingertips speak. The trail oozes from him through every pore. I never miss a chance to have sex or appear on television. Every normal person is really only partly normal. The scope of one's personality is defined by the magnitude of that problem which is capable of driving a person out of his wits. Love is an ice cream sundae with all the marvelous coverings. Sex is the cherry on top. Only the complete absence of sex can be considered as sexual deviation. Everything else is a matter of taste. Sex is as important as eating or drinking, and we ought to allow the one appetite to be satisfied with as little restraint or false modesty as the other. My wife wants sex in the back of the car, and she wants me to drive. A woman should soften, but not weaken a man. They say you can rap about anything except for Jesus. That means guns, sex, lies, videotapes. But if I talk about God, my record won't get played, huh? I would rather have a cup of tea than sex. An intellectual is a person who's found one thing that's more interesting than sex. People in general are insincere in the sexual matters. They do not openly display their sexuality, but rather hide it by putting on a tight coat sewn from a matter called lie, as if it were bad weather in the world of sexual relations. All family life is organized around the most damaged person in it. Sex is a part of nature. I go along with nature. As for sex, well, sex is a perfectly respectable subject as far as Shakespeare is concerned. All history is love and violence. Social progress can be measured by the social position of the female sex. When one does not have what one wants, one must want what one has. Depression is a frozen fear. In the small matters, trust the mind. In the large ones, trust the heart. Sex is a must topic. Even every Bollywood movies has such highlighted content. A man is sometimes more generous when he has little money than when he has much, perhaps to keep from thinking he has none at all. Women are systematically degraded by receiving the trivial attentions which men think it manly to pay to the sex, when in fact, men are insultingly supporting their own superiority. Religion is a universal compulsive neurosis. I believe that sex is one of the most beautiful, natural, wholesome things that money can buy. Out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength. Avoid sex at night, because at this time it is safer to use other means of connection and intimacy, such as engaging in deep conversations, cuddling, or exploring shared interests. At a woman's breast, love and hunger are crossed. We are never so defenseless as when we love, and never so helplessly unhappy as when we lose the object of love or his love. Love and work, work and love. That's all there is. Without love, we fall ill. All people are born bisexual, and later choose their sexual orientation depending on their life circumstances. Being a sex symbol is a heavy load to carry, especially when one is tired, hurt, and bewildered. I haven't trusted polls since I read that 62% of women had affairs during their lunch hour. Civilized society is perpetually menaced with disintegration through this primary hostility of men towards one another. All adaptation is partial death, the disappearance of a particle of individuality. Women need a reason to have sex. Men just need a place. We are never so defenseless against suffering is when we love. Envy is disruptive. Don't be tempted by it. Live by your own rules. Sex appeal is 50% what you've got and 50% what people think you've got. I think imparting sex education to children is important. People are more moral than they think, and far more immoral than they can imagine. There are two things people want more than sex and money: recognition and praise. I think same-sex couples should be able to get married. I'm kind of a good girl and I'm not. I'm a good girl because I really believe in love, integrity, and respect. I'm a bad girl because I like to tease. I know that I have sex appeal in my deck of cards, but I like to get people thinking. That's what the stories in my music do. Who lacks a sex speaks about sex, hungry talks about food, a person who has no money about money, and our oligarchs and bankers talk about morality. I've never met a woman in my life who would give up lunch for sex. In the duel of sex, woman fights from a dreadnought and man from an open raft. Time spent with cats is never wasted. As regards the individual nature, woman is defective and misbegotten, for the active power of the male seed tends to the production of a perfect likeness in the masculine sex, while the production of a woman comes from defect in the active power. Maturity is the ability to postpone gratification. I know a man who gave up smoking, drinking, sex, and rich food. He was healthy right up to the day he killed himself. Woman is the dominant sex. Men have to do all sorts of stuff to prove that they are worthy of woman's attention. Sex, the pleasure is momentary, the position ridiculous, and the expense damnable. When people marry, they no longer live for each other as they did before. They live with each other for someone third, and dangerous rivals soon appear for the husband, the household, and the nursery. Software is like sex, it's better when it's free. I believe in using words, not fists. I believe in my outrage, knowing people are living in boxes on the street. I believe in honesty. I believe in a good time. I believe in good food. I believe in sex. There is no need, and childhood as strong as the need for a father's protection. History is just new people making old mistakes. The only shame in masturbation is the shame of not doing it well. We need to say that women have sex, have abortions, are at peace with the decision, and move on with their lives. We need to say that is their right, and moreover, it's good for everyone that they have this right. The whole society benefits when motherhood is voluntary. Everyone owes nature in death. I need more sex, okay? Before I die, I want to taste everyone in the world. Aviation offered such fun as crossing the continent in planes large and small, trying the whirling rotors of an autogiro, making record flights. With these activities came opportunity to know women everywhere who shared my conviction that there is so much women can do in the modern world. and should be permitted to do irrespective of their sex. I'm a heroin addict. I need to have sex with women who have saved someone's life. There is no age limit on the enjoyment of sex. It keeps getting better. One of the things being in politics has taught me is that men are not a reasoned or reasonable sex. A man should not strive to eliminate his complexes, but to get into accord with them. They are legitimately what directs his conduct in the world. We adults don't understand children because we don't understand our own childhood anymore. A woman will never want sex with a man who doesn't get her hints. Just as no one can be forced into belief, so no one can be forced into unbelief. The Italians and Spanish, the Chinese and Vietnamese see food as part of a larger, more essential and pleasurable part of daily life, not as an experience to be collected or bragged about, or as a ritual like filling up a car, but as something else that gives pleasure, like sex or music or a good nap in the afternoon. Remember, sex is like a Chinese dinner. It ain't over till you both get your cookie.